Hello and welcome to the Raising Athletes podcast. My name is Kirsten Jones and I'm a peak performance and sports parenting coach. And a lifetime, way long time ago, I played volleyball in college. So it's so exciting for me today to have our special guest on who is just at the pinnacle of his career, having just finished playing at the top level of men's here in the United States before the national team. Jaylen Jasper is going to be here to talk about that. But before we get into that, I just want to say, parents who are listening to this, I met Jaylen a couple of weeks ago, and it was just so inspiring to hear his story, not only about volleyball, but about who you are as a person, who he is as a person. And so I'm so excited to share you with this. Jaylen, thank you for being here.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me. Like the conversation that we had in the gym has been like the most memorable conversations I've had with a parent at any club tournament. Like I'm excited to keep it going and just see what else we can talk about.
Okay, good. Well, let's dive in then because I don't know, we just started kind of chit chatting. And then the next thing you know, we realize we have so many things in common and people in common that we know. And I just find I love it when life is serendipitous and it helps us meet the people that we're destined to meet. I've never had, we're kind of doing a new thing where we're having current athletes on the podcast, which I love. And I think it's really important to hear not only from the parents and the coaches and the administrators, but from the athletes themselves. So maybe can we start with your story? I know you grew up in Annapolis, Maryland, and you weren't destined to be a volleyball player, right, from the very beginning. So could you tell us about your journey?
Yeah, no. From the second that I could hold anything when I was an infant, my dad being a college football coach and college football star, he wanted me to be a quarterback. He had me in the yard doing the 4 or 5 step drop, learning how to throw. And very quickly, I recognized that I did not want to do that. I did not want to expose myself to that environment. So I chose basketball, which is a sport that my mother played. I played that for
What
about
age? What age was that? Ish.
let's see, I want to say like maybe around like 8, 9, like pretty
Okay.
young. And then I played for 10 years. And then eventually, like it just started to get like really serious with high school, getting recruited for college. And I had just played so long that I just kind of felt a little burnt out and I just wasn't getting as much enjoyment out of it. And again, like my dad being like a very, very passionate and hardworking guy. He tried to instill that work ethic in me at a very, very young age. And it got to the point where I didn't enjoy working out. I kind of was resenting it and it was creating like a lot of tension in our relationship. So I just picked a sport that he knew nothing about and switched over to volleyball, which my sister started playing when she got to high school. So I basically did the same thing at the end of my freshman year, and ended up being decently good. I made the youth national team when I was a junior in high school.
Okay, I made the youth national team.
In Cuba, and then I was just training at like a very, very high level with USA Volleyball in high school and at the beginning of college. And it really set me up to eventually, because I was also like a good student, I got into Stanford and I knew like I wanted to prioritize my education just a little bit over athletics, just because I knew one day athletics would come to an end and I would need something to fall back on.
Mhm.
So went to Stanford. I played there for 2 years. COVID hit my junior year, and that cut that season in half. So I got an extra year of eligibility for that. But then Stanford ended up cutting its program. So with the information that I had at the time, not knowing if for my 5th year I would have a team to play on at Stanford while I studied, I made the decision to transfer out and finish my degree at Stanford and then get my master's somewhere else. And I chose Pepperdine, which is where I would have gone had I not gotten into Stanford. So it's kind of funny how that came around full circle. Um,
Yeah.
but then Stanford ended up bringing their team back, which I'm thrilled about because I don't think men's volleyball could exist without Stanford men's volleyball. Like it's just such a huge program in the sport that it would not be the same without it.
Hmm.
So I finished my eligibility here. Probably had my best season in college this past year. So makes me hopeful and excited for what I might have in the future in volleyball. Looking at playing overseas, I'm also going to start playing a little beach. So we'll see
Fun.
how that transition goes.
I was just looking at the stats for the NC2A, and you were the second highest ranked player in all of the NC2A, but you had by far the most kills, 544 kills for the year, which the guy behind you had 75 less kills, which when you only have about, you're hitting maybe 250, 300 in a match, that means you're hitting 225, 250 more balls than anybody else, right? So you had an amazingly productive season. Is that by far your best season?
Yeah, I think without a doubt it is.
That was amazing. So exciting to see that, how it must have kind of grown over time. So you're 6'7". What age did you hit your peak height? In high school or not till college?
It was definitely in high school. I think I started high school coming in at like 6'2", maybe like 6'2" ish, and then by the time I was done with high school, I was leaving a 6'7", 6'8".
Okay.
I definitely hit like the majority of my growth spurt in high school.
And what's your vertical?
To be completely honest, I don't remember the last time I actually measured it, but I know that it's somewhere between like 34 to like 38.
I was gonna say, for as high as you jump, I would like have that on every stat sheet you're in, every program that you're in. It's so fun to watch you play. You fly through the air, so I can see why the numbers get to be so high, because just putting it, up there for you to hit it. But let's go back and unpack for parents listening to this. So you get to high school, your dad's saying, "Okay, you're not doing my favorite sport, but I want you to play basketball." Do you remember how that ended up unpacking or unfolding with your dad when you said, "I'm going to go play this sport he's probably never heard of or never supported"? Was that a easy transition, or was that a hard conversation?
For me personally, I think it was a scary decision because, like I said, I put a lot of emphasis on getting to college and having my education paid for, because that's what my parents did and what my parents taught me is the thing to do. So switching sports for me personally was just a little nerve wracking because I didn't know like what my future was going to look like at this point. But it honestly made me feel like a million times better going
Mm.
into practices, or when I would go outside, take a volleyball and hit it against the roof and just play with myself and just, experiment with the sport a little. Uh, just because I felt like for a while, like I wasn't really putting as much emphasis on basketball as my dad would have wanted me to. And my sister was playing volleyball at the time, so I would kind of like fool around with the volleyball. And he was like, "Why are you playing volleyball? Like, play basketball. Like, that's what you're doing." So when I finally just said, like, you know what, screw it, like I'm gonna play volleyball. Um, I feel like it kind of got him off of my back a little, and he kind of just like took a step back and just observed like what I was doing and like how I was responding to it and like what my plan was and what my goal was. And I actually think it helped our relationship a bit, because when I was playing basketball and he was making me wake up before school at like 6 a.m. when I was in middle school, and having me go in the garage and do box jumps and ladder works. And you want to know why I jumped so high? It's probably because I was doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay. Thanks, Dad.
I will always thank him for that. He really didn't know what was going on at the time, and I really resented it. But I'm happy that he really forced me to, because I just think about where I am now. I'm just like, yeah, you know what? It sucked, but I'm happy I did it. But he kind of saw that like I was enjoying volleyball a lot more, and I was smiling on the court, like I was voluntarily going out and playing and doing some work with it. So I think he was a little upset, and he might have been just a little. He probably saw what I was doing with picking a sport that he didn't play, so he couldn't really comment too much on it. But he just saw that like I had so much more passion for it, and like I liked it so much more, that eventually he kind of started to. I remember my mom told me stories that he would stay up until like 2, 3 in the morning just watching videos about like rotations and how to swing and like how to pass. And he kept his distance for a while, and he just kind of like let the knowledge build up while I was like playing and figuring it out myself. And then slowly he started to like offer me like some advice and be like, "Hey, like how about this, like you can try this." And then also just being like a coach, like he also understands like the environment that you're in and how you train has a big impact on how you play. So luckily we are financially comfortable. He bought me a like one of those serving machines, so I can work on passing and work on setting and getting hit or getting set and hitting. Uh,
Uh-huh.
Signed up for lessons. I flew out to California a few times to train with people out here. I just saw Randy at Momentous, who was my very first ever volleyball trainer, and
Amazing.
it was absolutely insane to see him again. He's the first person that I ever like trained with volleyball specifically. Um, but just I think seeing how much more I enjoyed it and that it was my choice and my speed. It took a little time getting used to from my dad, but eventually when he saw that I was succeeding and I was excelling and like having fun while doing it, he was all in and all on board.
In hindsight, because we talk a lot about multi-sport athletes, and most of the best athletes have played more than one sport in their life. So now, with the experience of or the wisdom of experience, do you feel like you're a better volleyball player because you played basketball?
1000%.
Yeah,
Just in terms of being able to move and athleticism, like a lot of the concepts translated over so well, like shuffling and not letting your feet uh, touch. I'm trying to think, like being able to go off of one foot. I'm not a middle, but like if I were to hit a
yeah.
slide, like I would be able to do so like effortlessly because like that is the motion for a layup. And I see
Mm-hmm.
my I've had teammates in the past that I see them try to do that, and it just looks just so forced and like not supernatural. And I'm just like, wow, like I'm very happy that I had like that cross training because like it really made a lot just so much easier. And being athletic also came into play. So like I picked up on things somewhat easy. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, yeah, no, I'm a huge like if you can play multiple sports, like play multiple sports. Like it'll like for physical health, mental health, there are just like so many benefits to not pigeonholing yourself into one sport at such a young age.
Yeah, I coach 9 and 10-year-old girls, and you can tell the girls who play softball. Like you go to warm up, and they throw the ball really. And the girls who don't, they kind of push it this in front of. They shot put it, and you're like, no, 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 put the ball behind you, and they don't have that natural throwing arm, which is if you play a ball sport, you're used to doing. So there's huge advantages. What about injury? Do you feel like you've been less injured because of you've been a multi-sport athlete? Has that helped you over the years?
I think so. I noticed when I was in high school, middle school, I had like some knee problems. I also had some problems with my feet. Like I had very flat feet, and like after some practices, I would barely be able to walk. And just from doing some rehab stuff in relation to basketball, I kind of learned how to translate that over to volleyball. So like when it came to like warming up, lifting and just doing like maintenance exercises, not necessarily like strength building exercises, but just like on my knees and ankles. I had a couple ankle injuries in high school from basketball because I played basketball in high school throughout because it was not a super serious thing and just to stay in shape because I didn't have high school volleyball. But I rolled my ankles, both of them, multiple times, and I think maybe like one or two times I was out. But now, like if I jump and land on my ankle sideways, like it'll hurt for maybe 30 seconds, and then I'm
Yeah.
good. Like I can't really roll my ankles anymore, and my knees. I'm gonna knock on wood. My knees have felt great too, just from like running and then jumping and then like not like constantly just doing like one or the other. Um, yeah, I just think one thing I would say like maybe like my shoulder. I don't really think you use your shoulder as much in basketball, so that is one thing that I definitely have to take more emphasis on. To
Well,
just
when you're taking that many swings in a season, I mean, it's understandable, right? Holy
yeah,
mackerel. Yeah, that's a lot of reps, and that's just in the matches. So practices and everything else, I can imagine. What do you do a lot of preventative like bands and lifting and all of that?
yeah. So last year towards the end of the year, because I actually have a tear in my labrum, and there's a cyst growing on it. I found this out like right as COVID hit, and I was already back home. Like I was playing grass with some friends and went to run a ball down off the court and just try to jack it over the net, and just that action of throwing my arm over my head, like something went wrong in my shoulder, and turns out I tore something in my labrum.
Ooh.
So all of last season, I was actually in excruciating pain, like swinging. And towards the end of the season, my relationship with the sport of volleyball, my mentality, like I was like super like, this is not fun. Like this hurts, and like I'm not playing well. Like why am I doing this? And then this year, my trainer gave me, because I came in and I was just like, yo, like my shoulder not well, like we need to do something about it, and I don't want to get surgery. So she put me on this PT program that I did from the second I stepped on campus, and she gave it to me. I did it every single day. Like before practice, on weekends, I would go into the training room. Like that was my thing. Like that is how I warmed
Mm.
up. That is how I grounded myself before practice, and just I'd throw my headphones on, like blast some City Girls, and just do my shoulder exercises. And I have not, again, knocking on wood, my shoulder this entire season, with the amount of swings I've been taking, has just felt phenomenal. So I owe so much of how this season went to Carissa, my trainer. She is the one of the only reasons that I was able to be on the court doing what I did this entire season. Like, thank you, Carissa.
So your advice to younger athletes, I know you're coaching club too. What advice do you have to those athletes who maybe not taking as many swings as you are, but again, they're going to have a hopefully longer, 3, 4, 5 more years of playing. What would you tell them as far as handling preventive care?
Yeah, well, one of the biggest ones I always say, like, just stay active, multiple sports. If you can, diversify your training regime, that's like just better. But also, like, I don't, well, maybe I wouldn't necessarily put middle schoolers through what my dad did to me, even though I'm very happy with the results I got. Like, I think like starting somewhat younger and just having, not necessarily putting kids in like the weight room to like gain muscle, but just teaching them like how to move, like how to, squat, and how to bend down properly, and how to not use your back, how to swing, and not just use 100% of your shoulder. Um, just like doing some like active recovery and like lift working out, whatever you want to call it. I'm also just a big proponent of calisthenics and like body weight
Mm-hmm.
exercises and body weight movement,
Mm-hmm.
and also yoga. I've been doing yoga every day for the past 2-3 weeks, and I haven't played volleyball, but I feel like I could go out and play volleyball and be totally fine, just because I've been doing so much yoga, and it's actually like it's pretty hard.
It
Um,
is. It's a good workout. What
just wait.
about from a mindset perspective? Do you do any meditation? Do you do visualization? Have any mantras? Like, how do talk to us about what are you thinking about when you know you're going to be, you know, there's going to be a lot of pressure on you to perform?
Yeah. This is something that I've trial and error multiple times. Starting at Stanford, uh, I think like my whole journey with like performance anxiety and struggling with all of that started from graduating high school and being named like the top recruit in the class. Like I feel like that immediately just put a target on my back that like I've never really been able to shake off. So like my freshman year, you know, everybody was expecting me to be good, and luckily I was good. I have the things on the wall right here. I was all freshman, all first team, all conference. At Stanford in general, I won freshman of the year in the entire athletic department, and I was feeling fantastic. And then my sophomore year came around, and I don't think I played bad, but I would say that I probably played the same, if not like maybe slightly worse. And that is, I remember like as that season was going on, like I just kept thinking like, oh my God, like I'm not living up to people's expectations. Like I'm just kind of
Mm.
like coasting now. Like I'm cruising. Like I'm not like continuing to get better. Like I'm not killing every single ball and hitting 1,000 every game.
Did
And
you meet with a sports psychologist, or was there anybody there? I mean, obviously you had the support of your coaching staff, and your teammates, but was there anybody off the court that you were meeting with to help you with your mindset?
At this point, not yet. Like I thought
Okay.
it was just me and that I needed to figure it out and I didn't need help. And, that is another thing with me. Like I'm always like, figure it out, Jaylen. Don't ask for help. Like I have a real issue with asking for help. So my junior
Did
year,
people offer you help and you said no, or you just didn't think I shouldn't ask?
yeah, and luckily, like I have really good people around me. Like I think the volleyball community is very caring, and they just want what's best for you. And it was always just a little like I thought it was like embarrassing or like there's some shame to like asking for help, saying like I'm not
Mm.
doing super well. Like I don't think my headspace is the best to play right now. Um, and I just remember like junior year, it got to a point before COVID hit that I was just like I would go back to serve and like I'd be like physically like shaking and like I would just feel yeah, when you serve everyone's looking at you, but like it was like different. Like I felt like everyone was staring like not just at me as like a volleyball player, but like everyone was like taking a second to like look at me as like a person too because like I don't know why, to be completely honest. Like I feel like those things are like kind of separate, but like it just felt like so debilitating that eventually I was like, you know what, like I need to talk to somebody about this. And we had a sports psychologist come into our practice a few times and we'll do like some team group things that I thought were super helpful for just working on team chemistry and how we relate to each other. But I'd never had thought about, doing it for me personally and like my own personal issues. So I reached out to our sports psych and said like, hey, like, is there like any chance like we can just talk? And it my entrance into it like didn't really stick. Like we had a few sessions and I was like, oh, okay, like this is cool. Like I enjoy this. And then COVID, and then I went home, and then like a bunch of stuff happened. And then last year in the preseason, or not even the preseason, after the way I left Stanford, and all of that, like I was just in a very, very negative place. And there was an incident that happened a couple months in around Halloween where uh, I ended up taking like 3 weeks off of volleyball with a concussion that was just terrible.
Mm. Mm.
And I was just like, you know what, like I'm quitting, like I'm leaving, like I don't want to put up with this anymore. So I told my coach, and my coach said, okay, you should probably talk to somebody. And I said,
Mhm.
yeah, please. And then I started talking to a sports psych therapist here. And at the time, I was actually in the School of Public Policy at Pepperdine. That's where I started here. And
Mhm.
from that, I actually ended up just completely dropping out of that and switching over to a master's of clinical psychology because I
Ah.
just being in therapy and just hearing like what my therapist was telling me and like how I was taking it and just seeing the impacts it had on my day-to-day life and just in every interaction I had with anybody, like my coaches when I walked into practice, my trainer when I was walking out of practice, my teammates on and off the court, like aside from volleyball, just being a human being, like being able to connect and like relate to people and like just so many different aspects of therapy I just saw coming into fruition in my day-to-day life. And I figured, hey, like this is really cool. And like I am like so thankful that my coach put me in this and like my therapist is just so cool and like open with me that if I could do this for somebody else, then I would love to do that because that they talked me off of a ledge. And if I could do that for somebody else, like even just one person, then I will feel like I will have lived a fulfilling life and I would have made a difference. So that is why I am in
Thank you.
psychology.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think it's like such a relevant and pertinent topic right now because again, doesn't matter what level you're playing at. If you're feeling not enough, if you're feeling like this isn't going well and you don't know where to turn for help, the fact that did get help and you did have the resources. And then I love that the silver lining was it actually, looking back, it was a gift to you because now it's something that you've now, adopted as something you want to do to help other people. So what if you hadn't gone through that? You might have gotten to it eventually, but the fact that you got to it through that avenue of, oh, I was actually in a really dark spot, you're going to be able to help so many people by, them relating, you're relating to what they go through, and they're saying, hey, I get, what he's going through. I have lots of athletes that I'm working with now. I have one little client who, she throws up before every event, and she's like, I don't know, is that normal? And I think there's a lot of ways our bodies process stress,
Mm,
right? And we don't even know. And that's what they just want to hear, is like, is it okay that my body's responding this way, or is it wrong that I feel this way?
yeah. Yeah, no, it's a it's such a like what's the word I'm looking for? Like when it comes to like performance and, finding like a passion for your sport, I think it is just so easy to forget like the mental side of the game, and it's so easy to just kind of get sucked into the philosophy that, like everyone is going through something, like just kind of suck it up and, figure it out yourself, and like you're okay, like nothing's wrong with you. And I don't want to like pathologize and like, tell anybody anything, but like, like if you're not feeling it and like it's like not really happening for you, like it's worth looking into, like it's worth talking about it, like it's like just holding it in and just not asking questions, it's not gonna help. Like if anything, like it's just gonna kind of push you into like a spiral of just negative thinking, or just kind of get you stuck in like these thought patterns that have you uh, doing some actions that you might see as self-care but are actually bordering the line of like
Mm-hmm.
self-destruction. um
Mm-hmm.
so it's huge.
Do you remember what tools, or was it just through talking? And maybe you don't have to share if you don't want to, but what was there a pivot point for you when you felt like, oh, I'm back? Or was it a gradual coming back? Or how did that go for you?
um well, I mean, like at my time at Stanford, and like I started therapy at Stanford and then COVID, and then I would say like a lot of last year it was just like me just really working through like what happened in like the fall, and like working through like my shoulder. So I would say like last year, it was a roller coaster. There were times when like I thought like I was on top of the world, and then like the next week it would just be like right back down on like rock bottom, and then the next week it's like, oh, rock bottom has a basement, like good. uh, so like honestly I would say probably this year. Like I remember I got to the fall, when I finally moved in on campus because it took forever to give me my housing. Um, like I didn't have any other outside distractions. Like I just had me, volleyball. Like I had taken the summer to really just kind of focus on myself, and like reset. And I came in just completely ready to like have a new experience. Like I didn't want some of the things that were weighing on me the last couple years to follow me anymore. And one big piece of advice that really really stuck with me that I learned from CMAC, at Stanford. He told me that he told this to April Ross, and April Ross has called him multiple times after she won an Olympic gold medal to tell him that like she used it and it worked. It's just like the concept of like reframing. So like kind of like what we were talking about earlier, like some not ideal things happening, but then like it leading to where I am now. I just kind of started to think about things in a way that wasn't just so negative and so down all the time. Like I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
constantly, playing the victim and like, oh, why are things happening to me? Like why is this going on? Like why is it my responsibility? Why do I have to do this? Like I just started thinking about things differently and just reframing it in my
Mm-hmm.
mind. And like I don't know, it might sound dumb, but like I really think just
No.
like the way, like if you just change the way you think about things, like it has like an impact on reality and like how you actually like view things. Like I don't like know how to describe it other than just like powerful. Like it is like you can really just change the way that like things are like happening like in your mind and like how you perceive things just by changing the way that you think about it. And it takes some skill and it takes time, like obviously like going through some bad things, like your first thought is probably going to be like, oh, like this sucks, like my life is awful, like why me? But like once you kind of start to practice it and kind of see that like, oh, like it works, it's so easy. And eventually it gets to a point where personally, like I feel like some like really bad things could happen to me and I would still be walking around with a smile on my face and like being like the happiest, cheeriest person, because in my mind, like something bad didn't happen. Like it's
Mhm.
like I just like it wasn't bad, like it was not ideal, but you know, something else might come out of this, or the lesson I learned from this, or like who I am because I went through this. Like I appreciate that. Like it, like the concept of reframing is probably like one of my biggest, like I will push that onto anyone just because I think it is like there's nothing wrong with it. And like
Oh,
it's so effective.
I love that, Jaylen, and that's exactly what I work with clients on. So you're speaking my language, and I always say we don't always get to control what happens to us, but we
Mm-hmm.
have 100% control of how we choose to respond. And what is the story you're telling yourself? And we spend about 80% of our day in the future or the past. So we're either complaining about what happened to us or worrying about or projecting what might happen to us. And so much of it is really what's happening to us right now in this moment. And we get to choose. We get to choose how we're showing up. We get to choose what the story is. Look what happened, and A happened and B then didn't happen, but C happened. So D got to happen, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you always are going around what didn't happen, there's a great Chinese proverb. A man buys this beautiful horse, this beautiful white horse, and it's the most wanted horse in the whole village. And a war breaks out. And during the war, somebody comes and steals the horse. And they said, "Oh no, that's horrible. Somebody stole your horse." And the man said, "Maybe it is, maybe it isn't." And then all of a sudden, his son goes off to war and finds the horse and brings it back. And he says, "Oh, it's wonderful. You found your son and you found the horse. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't." And then the son rides the horse and breaks his leg. Oh, that's what's great news. Then it's bad news. Back and forth. The story goes back and forth about you get to decide. You get to attach value to what happens to you. And then that's the story that you're going to tell yourself about your value. And
Yeah.
when you decide, I'm valuable just enough as I am, whether I have the best shoulder, whether I have healthy knees, whether I have, like playing at the best school or not, like those are all stories that we get to decide, okay, yes, this is wonderful if this happens, but I'm enough even if that doesn't happen to me or through me, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think another concept that is like kind of like related to that, is just like validation and like seeking like external validation. Uh, like if you constantly are looking towards people to tell you like you did a good job or like you're doing the right thing or like good job, like it's like you're constantly going to be looking for that, and you're giving other people, like the world around you, like just so much power to control how you feel. Whereas like if you're able to like take a second and look at things, from like an unbiased lens and just kind of look at like how the situation is in reality, um like you can like validate yourself, like you can tell yourself like, hey, like I did as best I could, like I tried my best, like it was not my day, like whatever. And like if you just think about it like that, like it can take away like so much pressure and anxiety. Like this past year, like I had played a big role in my team, like I was expected to kill a certain amount of balls, and there would be just some sets, some starts to the game where I just would be, super slow and like not play super well. And I would just kind of sit there and tell myself, like, you know what, like, Jaylen, you're not having, the last couple points might not have been ideal, but like, look at everything you've done so far. Like, look at where you are. Like, the last couple points don't determine like your value in this game. They don't determine your value as a human being. Like it is not representative of who you are as a volleyball player as a whole. So, I just kind of take it as it is, let it go. Like you are like I said, like I'm a big fan of Megan Thee Stallion and City Girls. And like when Megan Thee Stallion said, like, I'm that bee, like been that bee, still that bee, will forever be that bee. That is like what I tell myself, like as I walk back onto the court after every timeout, it's like, you know what, like last couple of points, might have been rough, but I'm doing my best. Like I'm who I am. Like everyone's still looking at me and expecting me to kill the balls. Like I have a job to do and I'm going to do it.
I
So
love that. And that so you do have a mantra. So you're listening to this song in your head and you're replacing any negative thoughts with I'm that B, you're going to be that B. You're saying that to yourself, right? So parents who are listening, when I work with athletes, it's exactly what I say. You're going back to serve. It's like to go to shoot the free throw and what's going through your head? I hope I don't miss. I hope I don't miss. What are the odds that you're going to serve it well when the whole talk track is negative? But when you flip the script, I serve aces, right?
mhm,
I'm that, whenever I've got one client, she uses the Taylor Swift song. I'm like, sing the Taylor Swift song because even in the lack of negativity will then put you towards what it is you want to go for, right?
mhm,
So being on purpose with what it is that you want is what creates your reality. And I love what you talked about self-coaching, you know, would you ever tell your best friend, God, that sucked that you just hit it out? Like, oh, you're horrible. You wouldn't say to them,
mhm.
a negative talk track, yet we do it to ourselves,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And so what you were talking about was actually coaching yourself as if you were your best friend, right?
Yeah. Like that is like I can't even begin to describe. My self-talk up until probably this year, and like I had my moments this year, just absolutely terrible. Like I would berate myself on the service line, like Jaylen, just get this damn ball in. Like there's 900 square feet over there. All you have to do is pick one, and it was just like super 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 negative. And I think it took me getting my coach from this year. I mean, I loved my coach last year, David. He was awesome too. Um, so I am no way taking away from anything that he has done for me. But Winder, like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the fact that like he played and he was in like our position, like as a four-time All-American ABCA Player of the Year.
Oh,
But like I just like his coaching style just really resonated with me personally. Like I would go to battle, which I technically did every game this season. Like I would do anything for that man just because he put so much confidence in me. And even when I didn't play well, like there were games, I remember when we lost to Concordia, um, we I don't think Concordia was ranked at the time, and I think we were seventh, and we lost in four, and they handled us pretty easily. And there was one point in the game where I think I got blocked three times in a row, and they were on balls that they were set very well. Like I should have, in my mind, I should have been able to kill them, but I just swung straight down and got blocked three times in a row. And I remember I was walking back because I was back row, like my head was down. I looked up and like saw my coach was just kind of looking at me, and I just kind of like muttered to myself, but so that he could see it, I was just like, "Take me out, like take me out," because like he will rotate through our outsides, he'll rotate a middle or two, but it was just kind of always like he would leave me on the court, and like I was just not playing super well, and I mentally was not in a good spot in that game, and I straight up looked at my coach and said like, "Take me out. Like, why am I still on the court? Like, I haven't done anything." And he kind of like rolled his eyes in like a laughing way, and I stayed on the court the rest of the game. And then 2 day the next day in practice, he before practice started, he like pulled me over to the side, and he just said like, "Hey, so like we talked about the game yesterday," and he said, "I just like want you to know like I'm never gonna pull you out. Like you
mm,
like have so much value on our team, and like you play such a huge role that even when you aren't playing your best, even when you're playing at your worst, like we still need you." And like I hope you understand that, and I hope you're comfortable with that because you're not getting taken out ever. And I kid you not, like I almost started crying as I was standing right there because I was just like, "Oh my god, like I don't know how to respond to this. Like that is like the nicest thing I've ever heard." And like I also just feel like a million times more confident that like I can play bad and like not get punished for it, but like I don't like I don't know. I feel like it just took so much pressure off of me to hear him say that. And
mhm.
after that point, I was just like, Jaylen, like if your coach is who's the person that could sit there, yell, scream, and like berate you, but and we lose to a team that's not even ranked, and like he's sitting there like telling you like, Jaylen, I'm never gonna pull you out. Like, why am I gonna sit there and like yell and scream at myself and make myself feel bad? Like if my coach isn't doing it, like why am I going to do that to myself? Like,
I
and
love that story so much because it completely frames up why I love coaching and coaching, mindset coaching, and why I believe there are people like your coach who came into your life at the right time, because I believe the power of great coaching, like great teachers, are sometimes we need someone who believes in us more than we believe in ourselves.
mm,
And for him to believe in you more than you believed in yourself, and him to be able to articulate that to you so that you could then feel free to go do and be who you are meant to be, right? Because it could have gone the opposite way. It could have been like, I don't know what you're thinking, but that is completely unacceptable, and you're my leader, and blah
yeah,
blah 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 blah, right?
that's how I thought
No.
on, because I've had coaches in the past that if I would have said something like that, they would have been like, "Oh, so you don't want to be on the court? You're off. And next practice, you're going to be running however many suicides." And it's just like, why?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
why am I get punished for my lack of confidence? Like, that doesn't seem like something I should get punished for.
Yeah, because
So,
nobody wants to pound it into the block 3 times in a row. Like that's nobody's goal,
like,
right? Yet,
do that either.
yeah, right? Yeah, but to have somebody who, and that's what I believe great coaching is seeing things in people at whatever level they are. And great coaches coach the star the way they coach the middle person, the way they coach the bench warmer, the way they coach, they have a gift for everyone to believe that whatever your purpose is on that team, you have a role, and we need you in order for Jaylen to succeed. We need the 12th guy on the bench to also be the best that he can be, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that's really beautiful. What a great experience for you to end your college career on too, right?
yeah. Like I've had multiple coaches, like from college to USA, whatever. But from like Costi to David to Jonathan, like I took a little bit from each one of them. Like they all made me who I am today. I would not be the player I am. I wouldn't have won conference player of the year without any of them. But I definitely think by far in my last season, which is just, it's crazy to think about that. Like I probably learned the most from Winder. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it just comes from the fact that like he'd been in a position very, very similar to mine. Like he was, one of the best playing in college when he was playing. And we've probably had like a lot of the same like mental experiences when it just comes to, having like a huge weight on your shoulders on the court. And I love that man. I hopefully one day I could end up coaching with him so I can learn even more, because he really got me to a place this year that I didn't think I had much left in me, and I got to the end of the season and I feel like I have so much left in the tank that like I can
Oh.
still go overseas and like play, whereas like last year I was just kind of like I can be done, like I don't really care. But like now like I want to keep going and like prove to like myself, but like also just like continue to like make Winder proud because of like all of this confidence and like all the skills that he gave me.
I feel like one of the things that kids are going through now too, and I think the parents feel this, like, okay, now where are you going for high school? Okay, now where are you going for college? Okay. And then like there's this big push and rush to get through it. And also what I think I'm hearing you say, which is, now having the experience, or, of COVID, of an extra year of time to mature and grow. I mean, maybe you wouldn't have heard the messages 2, 3, 4 years ago, but now because of the path that you've gone on, and again, the experience that you've had, also just like the right teacher appeared at the right time. And both of my boys have gone and done a prep school year, so they're now a year behind. But if you're looking at it from a calendar wise, but what's the rush? The rest of your life is taxes and getting a job. So why not enjoy the unfolding, which again, you found in your 5th year that you really love this whole psychology, like had you not had that extra year to figure that out, you'd be fine, I'm sure, on your other path. But wouldn't it, isn't it nice that some people don't figure out what they're really passionate about until they're 40 or 50 or 60, and then they feel like, well, I'm making too much money being an accountant, I can't pivot and write screenplays. But when you trip up on it, accidentally or not, at 22, 23, 24, what a gift.
Yeah, I know. it's been a roller coaster, and I've, been pushed to my limits multiple times, but I am insanely proud and just happy with who it's made me and who I've become. And if I had to go back and put myself through it all over again, like, I would look at myself and tell myself, it's going to be hard, it's going to suck, but you'll make it through, and trust me, you'll be happy with how you come out of the other side.
So are you the first AVCA Player of the Year that wasn't on one of the Final Four teams? Is that right? Did I understand that?
Uh, well, I did not win ABCA Player of the Year. I was just our conference Player of the Year. Um,
Okay.
I
Oh, just.
think I was like, yeah, I think I was the only conference Player of the Year that was not on the first team. Which, you know,
Amazing.
think about that. If you think about it, sure, it might not make sense to you, but like, given that I had been an honorable mention the past 4 years, like, finally feeling like I broke that ceiling and like improved enough, and like I did it to the point where like the ABCA had to notice and they couldn't just throw me on honorable mention again. Like,
Wow.
I don't care. Like I where is it? Oh, it's in the room over there. But I got that
That's
award.
amazing.
I'm
Yes.
like I don't know. Like, I feel like I finally did it, and I'm not gonna let anybody sit there and be like, "Oh, you're a 6 year, you are." Oh no, like, I
No.
had been through so much. I deserve this. I had to work for this, and at the end of the day, I didn't even get the top award. So like, why are people mad? Like, calm down.
No, no, not mad at all. In awe of all of your work ethic and hard work. And I know there's so much behind it. And that's why I love for people to hear your story. Because if you look you up on social media, win, this, everything's good. No, there's a lot that goes on in order to, get you to the place where you're like the fact that you want to continue to keep playing. It doesn't matter if you're one of the greatest in the world if you're feeling empty inside. But I love that you're getting ready to continue on your journey. So maybe tell us what, you talked about going overseas. When will you find out? When's the draft?
So I have an agent right now that is my coach from last year's agent from when he used to play. His name is Paul Carroll. He also one of the most influential coaches I've had in my life because he actually played my position. I'm using his agent, and we are exploring a few options, looking at Europe, or if things work out, I might end up in South America where it's a little warmer. That would be so
Not
I don't get
bad.
very far away from the equator. Um, so I will hopefully figure that out in the next couple weeks. But until then, I'm also, like I said, I'm training, just playing some beach also. I'm just gonna not put too much pressure on it, because I think a lot of people, like, once their college season ends, like, I need to find a contract now, I need to sign now. And I've talked to enough people that, like, I'm chill, taking my time, like, with the options that I have and with anything that might present itself. I'm in no rush. Maybe in a couple
Yeah.
weeks I might be in a little bit of a rush, but there definitely will be more volleyball for me in the future. So I'm
When do
excited.
you graduate?
Okay, so currently on my track, I have like another year of clinical trials. So I have this
Okay.
quarter, I have next quarter, and then I need to figure this out. I might have like one more class to take, which I might do in the fall, or I might take 4 classes in the summer, which would be really difficult. But I should be done with classes by the end of summer, and then I should be going into clinical trials next year, depending on what I'm doing as far as going overseas. This might
Volleyball.
be something I have to
Yeah.
put off and wait until I come back. So we will see.
Yeah.
Like I said, like, I'm
But the volleyball has a finite life, and you can keep chipping away at the second degree, right? So, yeah, take advantage of your health and your ability to play overseas and make money. And I lived in Europe for 10 years after college, and how many regrets do I have that I picked up and left the United States to go to Europe for 10 years? Zero. You never go, oh, gee, I wish I would have gotten a job and started to, work right away. No, went to Europe, found Nike, met the man of my dreams, lived overseas for 10 years. It was amazing. So having those adventures are awesome.
yeah, no, I'm really excited. I think just getting into a completely new environment. Like I've been all over the country, America, but like I'm really excited for the possibility of getting to explore Europe, but just the world in general. Like
Yeah.
it's finally time. I don't have like school and volleyball like every single day to like keep me here. Like I can actually like explore now,
Oh,
have some free
amazing. Well, you're so kind and so generous of your time, and it's so lovely to hear your story. I think this is going to resonate with so many people on so many different levels. So thank you so much for sharing. But before I let you go, I'd like to ask you one question we ask all of our guests. How would you finish this sentence? The best athletes I know do this. What do the best athletes you know do? And it can be from any perspective, whatever comes to mind.
the best athletes. That is a good question. I really like that. I want to start asking this to people now. Um, there are literally so many things going through my mind right now, but I want to pick like one that encompasses like a few of them. I would say the best athletes I know have the ability and willingness to adapt. So I think there's just like so many things that I feel like that might leave out. But just in terms of like, you know, athleticism and success, however you want to define those things, I think whatever you want to get out of your sport is the ultimate goal. Like if you want to play in college, if you want to play professionally, if you just want to stay in shape, like whatever it is. Uh, but I think even like if you have your idea of what you want to do in mind, it's kind of like what you said, like everything's not going to be a straight line. Like you're not just going to say, I want this, I want that, like this needs to happen, and it's just going to happen. Like things are going to fall through, things are going to, you know, not necessarily work out, or things like aren't going to be as easy as you thought that they were going to be. And being able to think critically, regroup, and adapt, and you know, make situations work that aren't necessarily ideal or not where you thought you were going to be is what's going to put somebody over the edge. Because if the second that something did not go someone's way, they're just like, okay, like I'm done, like I quit, uh like that there's your career there, like it just ended. So like being able to, you know, roll with the punches and just kind of keep pushing forward, I think that's what separates good athletes from great athletes. And
I
especially the
love that.
I know, like, yeah, they are the most resilient people that have put up with a lot and have overcome a lot.
My three buzzwords are grit, resilience, and gratitude. And if you are gritty enough, which means you're willing to, for a long term goal, when you set out as a freshman in high school, decide I'm going to start to play volleyball, to say 7 years, 8 years from now, Jaylen, you're going to be sitting in a Pepperdine dorm room having just won, you know, player of the conference of the year. Like that took a lot of ups and downs to get you there, right? That was a lot of grit. And it wasn't just, oh, I'm just going to take a couple swings and I'm going to be the best, you know, the player of the year and no big deal, right? And then grit, where the resilience piece of coming back from shoulder injuries, coming back when the program gets cut, coming back from, you know, all the other things that we didn't even get a chance to talk about today. And gratitude, obviously, of such an, you know, I've heard you mention 8 or 9 coaches, like all of these people. I picture a stadium of people that are there cheering you on, right? That are all super Jaylen fans because of how you show up. And when you show up that way, everybody wants you to succeed. And that is such a beautiful thing, which helps you rise faster and further than you could have ever gone on your own.
Yeah, it really does. Like it's an amazing thing. I really like that analogy. It's a stadium, people cheering me on. Like I'm imagining
Have you
that.
been,
I feel like so motivated.
right? You want to go work out, right? And I heard the rumor mill tells me that you're an amazing dancer. We'll have some Stanford insiders that are like, oh my gosh, you should see this guy dance. He is amazing. So I want to see that someday.
Dude,
When I have you back.
as soon as I get like some Rihanna playing, Beyonce, I kid you not, like it is. That's another thing that I do on the volleyball court to just keep me grounded. Like during timeouts, like we'll be down, like in the third set, and we're getting swept basically, like down by like 10 points. And our coach called a timeout, and I'm the first one to. Oh, they're playing Rihanna. Let me just like move my shoulders a little. So don't worry, you will for sure see that sometime soon.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I can't wait to continue to follow your journey. And parents, where can they find you? I'm sure you're on all the social channels.
Yeah, so I don't have TikTok, which I'm working on though. I'm working on. My Instagram is my name, Jaylen Jasper, JaylenJasper. Also, I think I'm on Facebook. My name, uh, and yeah, that is it.
Twitter? Or do you tweet? No.
Actually, no, I do not have Twitter, which is something else that I've been looking into too, because I feel like I'm really.
There we go. This may be the year for Twitter and TikTok. New experiences.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, parents, if you enjoyed this, please like and share and leave us comments and let us know how we're doing. We too are trying to figure it out, fall down, stand up, do it all over again. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you soon. Let's do this.